Well, hello everyone. Welcome back. Today is day 2 of the Association for Talent Development, the International Conference and Exposition. Long day. Lots of good stuff though, and I'm just kind of whipped. So what I want to do is just kind of a recap what was going on for the conference. Just kind of share the things that I've learned, all the notes that I took, and give you kind of insight what was going on. If you've never been to this conference, definitely recommend it. It's an exciting event, and it started off in the morning. First thing in the morning, they brought everybody in for the general session. Reportedly, there was 9,000 people in the room, and definitely really cool to have that energy. Great band that was playing. They were also, ATD is celebrating their 80th anniversary, 80 years doing this and basically creating a world that works better. That's the whole goal, right? To help folks. Tony Bingham came out, introduced or welcomed us. He is the CEO. He introduced Holly Ransom, who is the MC for the these general sessions and kind of tying things together. And she also wrote the book, The Leading Edge. So something to check out. One of the cool things that kind of happened is the band is called Song Division. Definitely a cool group of guys, and they would write songs on the fly. And so they took information from Holly, went backstage, pulled together a song, and basically did the song while we were there. And throughout the conference, they're going to be the house band, and they're going to be doing this throughout the conference. So that was pretty cool. The keynote speaker was Adam Grant. He is an organizational psychologist at the Wharton School of Business. Other cool things is he's a magician, and or was a magician, and I thought that was pretty good. He's written a number of selling books. Definitely check it out because I like what he had to say, and it talked about rethinking. And this is a great time to do it with this whole COVID, with ChatGPT, the AI, everything. It's a good time to rethink how we are doing businesses. Businesses are closing if they don't make the adjustments. And his goal is just to make work not suck. Talking about a lot of the businesses, and he listed a lot of businesses that are good at thinking but bad at rethinking, and Sears and Barnes and Noble, were some of these businesses that were mentioned. We need to be quicker about rethinking. We're very often entrenched in the way we're doing things, but it may not be the appropriate way of doing things, and we need to rethink. We need to take a look at it from a different angle. So he gave some recommendations. One is to build a network to help with rethinking, right? Have a challenge network that challenges you on what you do and how you do it, informs you of blind spots, and gives you an opportunity to be a better version of yourself. We need to create organizations that have psychological safety. And what I mean by this, or what he means by this, is if there's a lack of safety, people do not bring up problems. And if you have problems, you're going to have bigger problems, right? Problems that you know about, you can fix. Problems that you don't know about, but others do, will drag you down. So, really interesting thing is, as he was talking about managers, that, one common phrase is like, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions, right? Well, we probably need to rethink that to say, let me know what the problems are also. Because if we don't know about the problems, they're going to stay problems, okay? If folks are waiting to find a solution, it may go on too long and we're just not getting it fixed. He showed something that I thought was pretty humorous, and this happened at Wharton, and it's a business school, and this idea of bad reviews, right? Faculty get bad reviews. Well, he actually got them to read those, kind of like mean tweets, and read those bad reviews, and captured them on video, and it was pretty humorous. And so he's something that I think we should do holistically, is just get out there, own these bad reviews as an opportunity to improve. But it also lets everybody know that we're human. Okay. Talked about rethinking a mindset. That lots of different ways. He had this nice triangle broken up into areas where you have a preacher who says, I am right, and you have a prosecutor who says, you're always wrong. Politicians say, we're right, but you're wrong. You have cult leaders that say, I'm always right. But he says, approach it like a scientist. I may be wrong. Let's test it. Let's go out and see, put it in an experiment, try something, do pilots in order to, see if we can improve. When he's talking about testing, keep the test simple. A and B testing. Don't add additional options, because that just makes it a little more complex in what you have to do. What else here? Okay. What are you waiting for? This was a really, for me, an impactful statement. He was a diver, Olympic diver, I guess, or for Olympic tryouts, something like that. But he was a diver. And he was talking about this one dive he had to do, a really complicated dive, but he was just afraid of doing that, and his coach says, are you going to do the dive or not? And eventually is like, well, what are you waiting for? Right? Getting out and doing it. And this is something that, I've been kind of taking to heart, this idea of writing a book. What was I waiting for? So now I'm 3 books in, almost 4 books in, and the idea is like, why did I wait so long? What am I waiting for? And just a great question to ask yourself. Oh, I'm going to do it, but what are you waiting for? So, let's see. He talked about Bridgewater, a company, Bridgewater, and things that they had done in their company. One was in their onboarding, right? When they onboard somebody, one of the questions they ask is, do you agree with what the information we provide in onboarding? If not, let us know and make us aware of where our gaps are. In performance reviews, the fact that they can criticize their boss also, to let their boss know where there are gaps in performances. But also going out and challenging others to rate your performance. So when you do something for someone, ask them, please rate my performance. He does it on a scale of 0 to 10, and also ask, well, how can I be better? So, wonderful advice. Yeah. It was just a great session to get the day off and going. After that, I went to the expo, saw every single vendor that was out there, made lists of things that I thought could work for Dean College, also for the chapter. I had a few folks reach out to me, so I went and tried to find resources that they could potentially use. So I thought that was a good use of my day. And then in the afternoon, we had the other sessions. The first one was Whodunit, making your content engaging and memorable using mystery stories. I would say the mystery stories was the smaller part of this, but it really talked about storytelling, right? And the fact that, he started off with his own story, telling about when he was a kid, and this is Mark Schenk. As a kid, he would read late into the night, right, in the blankets. When he got to college, he'd fall asleep reading, right, usually on the first page. And this also goes into training that we're providing. It's like, oh, this is so dull, and it just puts you to sleep all the time. And very often it's because we're just pushing out information, but we're not wrapping a story around it, right? That we have to show versus tell, because our brains are wired for stories and they're not wired to just consume facts over and over. So storytelling is a tool, and when he's describing this in a business sense, it's not storytelling as in telling fairy tales or these big grandiose stories that are fiction, but really telling anecdotes or providing examples, recounting something that's happened. Those are the kind of stories that we should be weaving into our instruction all the time. So I thought that was quite good. One of the things he mentioned is don't mention the fact that you're telling a story. Don't stand up there and say, let me tell you a story, right? Because immediately it's like, okay, let's kick back and, kind of zone out, right? So it's just use it as part of what you're doing. He showed a wonderful clip from West Wing dealing with a NASA public affairs officer and the speechwriter for the president, and showed examples back and forth on how that worked. And so that was a great opportunity. And we had an opportunity to practice this, with the person next to us, in using stories to describe different situations and stuff, and even introducing ourselves, how we, came about to do what we do, weaving it into a story. The research is out there. If you use stories, it increases engagement, increases retention, and just improves learning. And so we certainly want to be able to do that. He talked about the DNA of the story, basically 4 elements that need to be as part of a story. One is time or place, right? That, 2 weeks ago, starting like that, something happened. And then a sequence of events, what happened, one after another. There has to be characters in there. Ideally, you want to weave dialogue into that, and something interesting has to happen, okay? He used, a great example, if you're talking about my cat sat on a mat, is not the same as my cat sat on my dog's mat. So that makes it just a little more interesting. But the fact that you have to get out and tell stories, and this can be done also in the written word as we're preparing our content. So lots of good content there, lots of links. I'll try to weave this into a blog post, but we'll share those later. Sat in on another session. This was on generative AI. What will generative AI do for you this year? And it was shared by CoRise, which is a company. The fact that we are entering an intelligence age, and people are on board with this, right? Because ChatGPT was able to get 1 million users in 5 days, right? Which it took months for Netflix to get there, but in 5 days, ChatGPT was there. It's going to impact a lot of different places. Products that the company makes, the productivity of the company. Some people will lose jobs. There's lots of elements to this, but the fact that AI has almost immediate recall of 45 terabytes of information, we have to be able to use this. They showed, basically the transition, the timeline, and the timeline really, when cloud computing became a thing, a more prominent thing, that's when things started taking off for AI. Because rather than on your desktop computer, some application trying to run through all the cycles, you could distribute it over hundreds of computers at one time. And that's kind of what really made the distance, using clusters to do this. And so the research on AI has accelerated to, recently there's like 5,000 papers, academic articles on AI, machine learning and AI per month. And so this is, it's definitely crazy. So, talked about how it works, the fact that it's basically taken, all the information it's trained on, which could be the entire internet at that moment in time, and it predicts, what the next word is with a high probability. And, so it was fascinating to learn a little bit more about that. But now, words can lead to other things. That images are based on, you can make descriptors for images, and so you can write prompts to create images, which Midjourney does. But a video is multiple images. And so you can start describing things in words in order to get other content. So the big thing, what they were doing is, they're a company that was creating products that would support using AI, but also helped in content creation and being able to use AI to help personalize learning. And I think that we're going to see big inroads in the fact that we can do one-on-one personalized learning much quicker because of AI. Sorry, sticky pages here. What's going on? Huh. So that was on AI. The acoustics in the room were horrible, so I probably could have taken more notes, but that was it. Another session, the last session I sat in on was on microlearning, and I have a book written by Robin Felici and Carl Kapp on microlearning, but it was nice to hear her talking about microlearning. And really, you're reducing kind of in the moment trainings, but making them, much smaller, much more repetition, and working on incremental improvement. And so she went in, basically, the 6 parts that she was focusing on was, making sure that you had goals and KPIs, a purpose, what the potential was, how to evaluate it, how to implement it, and then spaced learning. And she went in through, just a lot of details on that. But what it kind of reminded me of was back when I was in the Air Force, you would have what was called guard mount, and that's when everybody drew their weapons, they'd stand in formation, you would do inspections. But during that time, you also did some of this micro learning, that you would focus on 1 or 2 little elements as part of your training, and you did this every day. And you know, I thought that was kind of interesting. But also, you know, how to tie this in. I'm thinking of strategies I could use at work, you know, as part of maybe a drip campaign to, you know, push out information. So definitely interesting. I have to go back to the book that I have on microlearning to refresh on that. But, you know, something that I definitely will probably be experimenting with. All in all, great day. I had some wonderful conversations. I had an opportunity to hang out at the Chapter Leader Lounge and get to meet with a lot of folks, build better relationships with some of the nearby leaders of chapters that are near Central Mass, and just a good day overall. So, I mentioned this the other day, power of networking, definitely key in doing this, right? Opportunities just to discuss, and that's where learning happens, through dialogue. So I encourage you to get out there, be part of communities, and you know, get chatting with folks. So this is day two complete. Tomorrow I'll be in for day 3, and yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.